Hello and welcome to another episode 66 of the Be Life podcast, coming to you from Canton Nazarene Church in Canton, Ohio, home of the Hall of Fame, which is going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's craziness.
It's been a big weekend. It's been a big week.
Craziness over there. I used to go to all those things, but I don't go to them anymore. It's just too many people, too crowded, too crazy. I don't want to do it.
I get that.
I wanted to I love surprising Josh and just coming in with stuff and not telling him what we're going to talk about.
It's becoming a bit of a pattern.
Yeah, because you react well to it.
Yeah. Capture my live reaction.
You do. I mean, if you want me to,
no,
send you like copious notes and things like that to make it easier. I think you love this.
I enjoy it. I mean, and just getting to have good conversation with you and the people that are listening and watching. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Well, good. If you tuned in last week, and if you didn't, you have to go back and watch it now so that you could come back and watch this one and understand where I'm coming. It has been an unbelievable journey. One that I think God wanted to use to wake me up. And I think we all, I'm not going to say this. I have a tendency to want to say, we all fall into this pattern, but not everybody does. But I did. And I even wrote the blog I did this week, and everything is about this. It's been about the journey. And what I discovered is that I was being very, very selfish.
All right.
I was. I think, and again, I'm going to talk I. Few people have this wonderful. If you don't, you could say, oh, he's a goof, he's stupid, he's weak, whatever you want to call me. But I realized that I burnt out when I begin to believe it is I who am doing a work. Or my idea that generates an action. When I very subtly transpose the world into the ministry, and begin to have confidence in my own ability, my strength, and my intelligence. And how dare me say, where are you, God? When I should be saying, where am I, God? Because I allowed myself to become lost. And I allowed myself, because of my stupid confidence, my being passive about where I was and who I am in the Lord. There's a saying that we used to have in sports, and I told you this before, but you either get better or worse, you never stay the same. Yeah. And if you think you're staying the same, you're sinking. And it takes effort to keep going up. And it's the same way in our Christianity. When I think that I've got it handled, I've gotten to this point, I've gotten to this junction in my life where I can't fall back. I've attained. and now I could just ride this out. And then all of a sudden, everything becomes about me. I turn into myself. I start acting like I did before I knew Christ in a Christian setting, and then get upset and burn out. And I have to tell you, I am fired up again. I can tell. I am full go.
If people listened last week and they're tuning in this week, they can tell the 180 turnaround for you.
So what they're thinking is either he did a spiritual journey and God has come back and found his identity in God, or he's schizophrenic.
Or he found some good drugs.
Yeah. Or he's schizophrenic. And so you could think whatever you want, but I know that it has been a journey this week, rediscovering who I am in the Lord.
All right.
Now,
coming in a new man.
Well, I'm not. No, I'm the man I was before.
Yeah.
I became the old man.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think I'm following.
You catching my drift? So anyway, one of the things that happened this week is I was watching videos and doing things, and I found this video, which I initially thought, you know how you get suspicious of videos?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is this AI? Is this, is that? So I looked all over and I tried to get an explanation for this and the whole thing. It turns out what I believe is, and what I believe pretty soundly is, that this gentleman is a homeless man who these two gentlemen came along and bought him a meal, a fast food meal. And in turn, they had now they had started a conversation earlier. That's why they went and bought him the meal. But then he just started preaching to them.
Okay.
And they started videoing it from their car.
Yeah.
Starts raining. He doesn't care. He's just preaching. And I don't know where this guy is. Some people said online that they thought he had been killed. His name was John, that he had been killed preaching to some homeless people who got angry at him and killed him. I don't know all that. But this was part of the journey this week. And when you watch this, I literally had tears in my eyes watching this gentleman because it was of the Holy Spirit. So I don't want to talk through this. I just want you to see it. I want people who tune in to see it, and then we'll comment on it at the end.
Yeah, sounds
and
good.
how it relates. So I'm turning it over to this gentleman, this homeless man in this video that I saw this week.
It's frustrating. I'm trying to listen to God. I got my own flesh and my pulling me here, my own desires. My family, my friends, all these things is distracting me from the truth, and it's difficult to give in, especially when you're young, man. But if you can go through it, you'll come out like gold. If I can go through the fire. They don't want to go through the fire. They want the lotto and go to Jamaica and the Bahamas and do their own selfish thing. But he said, if you wait till I exalt you, I give you the desires of your heart. But it's difficult to wait because everybody's in a hurry. Technology, it's fast, it's in a hurry. They're angry, they're frustrated, they got time, they're on the cell phone, they want to text message you, y'all in the same car, you gonna text message him, he right there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in a hurry, I don't know where they going, but when they get there, oh, they gonna be sorry. The faster you try to get there, that career, that money, and you're gonna figure it out that, man, it was the journey. It was not the destination. You was in a hurry to get there, to come up, to be this, to be that. And when you get there, you're gonna feel discouraged more than you did before you even started to get there. Cause it was the journey, the people that you didn't stop to talk to like me at checkout. The people at the gas station. You was in a hurry to get there, but it was the journey. It was the gas station. It's Checkers. It's the journey, not the destination. Because the destination is steadily evolving. We always growing in wisdom and knowledge and understanding. It's always evolving. And we can never obtain it because it's steadily, constantly evolving. The more humble you be, then the more you can be fulfilled with the truth. But when you think you got it and you're on your way, then you're going to get less of it because can't nobody talk to you. You can't stop. You're in a hurry. I would say this, it's a man with pushing a basket. This man right here, they brilliant now. Don't look at the outside appearance. I've seen him in action. He was pushing a basket. And And I was under the bridge, and I was talking to everybody except him. He was the last person I talked to. He said, why didn't you talk to me first? He said, I should have talked. He said, don't you ever pass by a man pushing a basket and don't acknowledge him. I never do it in my life again. I talk to the person pushing that basket, how's your day? How you doing? I talk to the homeless people because they said, be careful how you entertain strangers. And most people that came off the street and they got their career together, they won't even let you know that they've been through it. They try to act brand new. It's a testimony. What you go through, it's for us to inspire somebody else. It's for me to pull the weak ones up. It's for you to pull the weak ones up. We don't go through this because of our own selfish reasons. We go through this to give them a testimony of how far God has brought me. And it was never about me. I thought about me. Why I'm going through this. He said, back up, man. Who you going to inspire? Who you going to tell somebody about the glory and the grace of God if you don't go through it? Get out of yourself. And once I step back, I be seeing the deep things of God. And so I don't play with him. I don't ask him for a lot. I just say, give me my portion for the day. I don't want a lot of things. Just give me enough that I can deal with. He said, I give you, but fulfill your bond greater than you can ever ask. I know what you desire. I know what you need. But Lord, give me my portion where I can be grateful, where I can be thankful. They unthankful. They unholy. They ungrateful. They got a job. They don't want the job. They got 40 hours. You can't work on Saturdays. You can't work on Sundays. Now you got 3 days. They always complaining and griping and murmuring. Stop it. He said, be grateful with the little things. And wait, and I put you there. But he gonna put us in a place where they appreciate me in the job. I don't hate going to work. I gotta watch my back. They backstabber. You making the money, but I can't go to that job because I gotta watch my back. They haters. Put me somewhere where I love going to work. I can get up and they appreciate my work and I blend in. God say, I'm gonna put you there, but if you wanna get it, go ahead and get it.
What do you think about haters?
That's a part of the balance in life. They hate. They don't know why they hate. Tell them why they hating sometimes. They don't know they hating. It's just standard thing. They get angry. He taught. Every way he taught them. They hate. They don't even know why. Because they don't nobody teach them. They don't nobody take time to let them know why they doing things they doing. And that's the whole purpose of life. Let them know what they doing wrong if you see it. I always knew I was doing wrong. What about when they showed me long suffering? What about when they forgave me, but I can't forgive him? He did. He made a promise. I made a promise. I didn't fulfill it. They didn't go off on me. Well, I got to go off on him because he didn't fulfill his commitment. That's wrong. You got to teach. They don't know. The only God they know is through you, through your experience. They don't know about church because you can't go to church because it's a business. And all the church people, it's a clique, it's a club. And they done forgot about God, it's a business. Look here, it's just the world. Ain't nobody being bold and talking about God because don't pray in school, take the prayer out of school, all these things, it's the world. We're getting in a time where God is not popular no more. And if you talk about it, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God. I believe in this. I don't care what you believe in. Let my spirit speak for me. Let my action. But it was a time when I was just a hearer and not a doer. But it got to balance out. You got to go through the fire in order to be a doer too. You're going to be a hearer, then you're going to be a doer. But don't let people throw you off your journey. You can't be nothing. It's between your relationship and God. They can't understand you all the time because you're trying to figure out your way. I'm trying to figure out my way. I can't prove nothing to them all the time. I don't need them to figure me out. All I got to do is just be patient and do what was in my ability, my boundaries. I don't need to outstep my boundaries. I ain't got to prove nothing to you. You didn't feel me? No. How you gonna feel me? I can't put the expectation on you. I don't always feel me, understand me. So that's wrong. Be humble. Acknowledge him in all your ways. When I do wrong, I say something wrong to offend you, forgive me. I gotta say it right away, get it over with. If I offend somebody at work, look, if they persecute me, look at God trying to strengthen me to show them who I serve. I say I believe, I'm working with it. Well, teach them. They don't know. They don't know why they're doing that to me. Let your light shine among men. They might glorify your Father in heaven. It's real, man. I experience it all the time, 24/7. But I asked for it. I wanted to be a preacher when I was 6, but I didn't know the price I had to pay. Much wisdom, much grief, much sorrow. Ain't no other way you gonna get it. But if you can just go through the fire, you'll be like gold. The first thing they do when you go to a pawn shop and take what they do? How do they determine if it's gold plated or what they do? What kind of test they take it through? When you take the jewelry to the pawn shop, how do they determine if it's real or fake? They put it through the acid test. They put the fire upon it. This is how we know if we're real or fake. We're gonna go through the fire. You're gonna have disagreement with each other, but it's okay. You're gonna be friends, but if you have a disagreement, it's just a different agreement. That don't mean you ain't gotta see him no more and talk to her or talk to her or whatever. I want to go to work. I don't want to go to work because they stressing me out on the job. You feel me? They ain't receiving me with my full potential. And I don't know why I don't want to go to work. I got to understand why. Why I don't want the job? Because something ain't right. And I got to acknowledge it. I ain't going to sell my soul for the job. God said, I'm trying to put you over here, or I'm trying to let them know through you, let your light shine. But I'm hating on them because they ain't feeling me. They don't understand me. Hey, man, you got to teach them. You see how they flee?
Yeah.
They want $1, want a quarter. He could have got everything that he needed if he just would have been patient, but it's okay. You recording this?
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm telling the truth. It's all right. I thank God for you. Y'all a blessing to me. A true blessing. I ain't got nothing to hide. My burdens are heavy, but when I'm weak, he's strong through me. He speaks through me. The weaker I get, the more frustrated I get with my life, and I did this, I did that, then the more he speaks through me, the more he takes control of me. That's just where he wants you at. Get frustrated. That's when he gonna speak through you. But he gotta get you in that point where ain't nowhere else to go but to him. He said, those that I love, I correct them. I chastise them. Solomon was the wisest man that lived. He had everything that man could desire. But one thing God said, leave the foreign women alone. But he couldn't understand why he had a desire for the foreign women. But see, the Lord knew that they were going to turn his heart against him. They were going to make him idol worship and build a God. But he didn't understand it. And I'm going to say this, the preacher, he searched the world out. He said, I want to know the basis behind wisdom and knowledge and understanding and foolishness. See, you can't know wisdom and knowledge and you should be a fool, but we don't want to be foolish. That's the only way you're going to get it. You got to be a fool first. How you going to know a fool when you see a fool? How you going to know foolishness if you haven't been foolish? Foolishness, it comes with, it's painful. Because we think we all of that. We got a lot of abilities. We can create. We can send man to the moon. We can be inventors, but we're limited. If I understand that I'm limited, then that's when God takes control and gives me the wisdom that I desire. Humility. Be humble. If you don't understand your purpose, ask God. But ask him in sincerity. What's my purpose, God? Did you ever ask that question? What's my purpose? Why I'm here? What am I meant to do? But sometimes he can't tell us all at once. It might be too much.
What'd you think?
I mean, that's a lot of good. That's a lot of good wisdom in there. I like when he said, "You recording me? That's okay. I'm saying the truth."
I know.
Man, that guy earned his dinner that night.
Those guys thought they were blessing him.
Yeah, right.
And they got a tremendous amount of blessing. And I'm blown away because first time I saw that, I told you I teared up because that man was powerful.
Oh yeah.
And yet he's a homeless guy. You know,
I've had a number of conversations with some people that are, that are unhoused, and sometimes really lengthy conversations, and sometimes they're really good. A lot of times they just end up like, I can't follow along. They're going in circles. They're just ragging on whatever's, occupying their mind that they can't shake. And, I'd always try and listen. But no, I mean, that was crazy that like 13 minutes of him, that was very like coherent preaching. That was like very good wisdom. He was like hitting a couple points a couple times because it was important.
Yeah.
But it like all tied together. That was like a full blown sermon right there.
Uh-huh.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, just from a car window.
Yeah.
And the part that got me was, it started raining. He's getting wet. He's got his food that they gave him. He kind of puts that underneath his stomach a little bit, but he's just standing there. He's just not stopping. The rain isn't stopping. It wasn't like, hey, I'm getting wet, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And he talked about the other people who took off because they just wanted a quarter and they missed out on the goodies.
Yeah.
I just absolutely, that spoke to me this week.
Yeah.
As part of the journey. And it was, it was pretty amazing.
Did someone send it to you, or the algorithm just brought it your way?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I was looking at, I was asking questions, and I was, plugging in things and looking for different sermons, and it's really funny because I was studying Colossians this week.
Yeah.
And it was just, if you look at Colossians, Paul talks about multiple things, but he talks about who is the source of our ministry. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing when I started looking at this, when you start going back, when you're in the flesh, when you're in this, when you're in it, when you're consumed by it, and when it takes over your life, and before you know the Lord, when you're in the flesh, everything is about your abilities, your education, your personality, your. And it was even that way for the Apostle Paul.
Yeah.
He was rising up above everybody else. He was taught by the best. He was more knowledgeable than most. He was like moving into a CEO position at a very young age. And then Christ came, and Paul talks about in Colossians 1:23, and he says this. He says, if you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which you have heard, which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister. Paul was made a minister. And it's funny because I went back, and this is both in King James Version. Mm-hmm. Acts 26:16. Jesus is talking to Paul. And he says, but rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister. Yeah. If I was a volunteer, now many people could say, oh, you volunteer, I don't get paid and everything, but I didn't choose to be a lay minister here. I didn't choose anything in my life after I came to know Jesus. Except last week when I chose to be surly. and any other time that I choose to get in myself. But I didn't volunteer to be lay minister here. I was made a lay minister here.
Yeah.
And we were.
Yeah.
We were all made to be here. If I was a volunteer, I'd have a right to complain, but I'm not. How could I have? And if I was volunteering, I surely would not have volunteered for this phase of my life.
Yeah.
I think we all could think that. And I thought a lot this week, Josh, about where am I going to go if I left here? I have been crucified with Christ and I no longer live. So if I walk away from this life, the life with Christ, I'm now an alien in the other world. I have no place there any longer. So I could delude myself all I want about, what I want to do and the freedom I have, and I'm walking away from this, and I'm sick of this. I'm going to walk away and do something else. I can't. Where am I going to go? I'd be like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
I'd go off and wallow in the mud for a while and eat with the pigs and then come running back to my Lord because I would not be able to live like that. I read something from and I don't know who this guy is, Stott. He wrote something. He wrote this.
Okay.
I cannot help wondering if this may not be why there are so few preachers whom God is using mightily today. There are plenty of popular preachers, but not many powerful ones who preach in the power of the Spirit. Is it because the cost of such preaching is too great? It seems that the only preaching God honors, through which his wisdom and power are expressed, is the preaching of a man who is willing in himself to be both a weakling and a fool. It's the same thing this guy was talking about. God not only chooses weak and foolish, weak and foolish people to save, but weak and foolish preachers through whom to save them.
Yeah, I mean that's the same wisdom that was shared in that
Yes,
video. If you want to have wisdom, you also have to know what it means to be a fool, because how are you going to recognize the other fools?
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean that makes perfect sense, and I think having it reiterated here in that new context, yeah, like that's the point. That's why God uses us. That is why we are the vessel of His Spirit. That is why we are the proclaimers of the good news. Because we are broken, because we're mortal, because we're foolish, and that just makes the good news even more beautiful when it's delivered by a flawed person.
But then for some reason, at times, like I did last week, I want to get buffed up and go pumped up and puffed up and all those terms and say, I don't want to be weak anymore. I want to be strong.
Sure.
I want to be strong in myself. And then you get irritable, you get cranky, you get upset, I want mine, you get selfish, and you want to, I'm just going to take my toys and go home. And I'm not saying there's not mental things that go on, physical, chemical, whatever, that go on in people. But speaking for me, and I'm asking people to examine their own lives, not to say, because I said it, it's I either agree or I don't agree. Just look at your own life. But when I'm dead, when I died to Christ, when I, like Paul said, I'm crucified with Christ and I no longer live, then where is the rub? Why would I get upset about anything? Just like this gentleman said again, he was brilliant. But why would I get upset about anything that anybody says or does to me?
Yeah, it's hard because like the words aren't coming to me, but I know exactly what you're saying.
He also went on to say, if you're not going to be foolish preachers, or at least preachers who are content to be weak and seem foolish in the eyes of the world, we're not always willing to pay this price. We are constantly tempted to covet a reputation as men of learning or men of influence, to seek honor in academic circles, and compromise our old-fashioned message in order to do so and to cultivate personal charm or forcefulness so as to sway the people committed to our care. In other words, I won that soul to Christ.
Yeah.
I changed that person. I burn out when I begin to believe it is me that's doing anything for the good.
Yeah, when you have that goal of attempting to manipulate what your words or your actions are going to do in someone else's life, I think that's when you've crossed a line. I think that's when you're approaching things just backward. We're called to selflessly serve others. We're called to preach the good news. We're called to declare the truth in love. We're not called to make sure people receive the truth wholeheartedly and surrender their lives. We're not called to make sure people appreciate the good work that we've done for them and pay it forward to the next person. We're not called to manipulate people's responses to our ministry, to our love, to the truth of our message. We're just called to declare it and to follow in obedience and trust that the Holy Spirit is going to work it out for good.
I read something about Jeremiah today when he was talking. They were getting ready to lower him in the pit. He was always getting in some kind of lowering in pots or pits or something. And he said, he finally looked at he was talking to God and he said, I'm just following. You give me your word. I eat your word. I take your word and digest it. I give it to people. And I'm called to do that no matter who listens, no matter if anybody listens. And then I was looking at in Colossians when I was going further and looking at verse 23 to 29, and Paul's outlining his ministry. And he uses 2 words or 3 words in the ministry, which and I'm going to try and pronounce these correctly. Huperatos is a word that he uses at the beginning in 23, where he talks about ministry. And that word, I looked at, that word means under rower. So he's the person not in the top of the boat, but the under rower down below rowing. And then he uses the word diakonia. I think I pronounced that, which is where we get deacon.
Mm.
But it actually means busboy, servant, one who picks up the trays and everything.
Yeah.
And then doulos means bond slave. So when Paul talks about his ministry, he's not using lofty terms.
Yeah.
He's talking about he's an under rower. He's a deacon. He's a deacon, which is a busboy. He's a servant. And he's a bond slave, which brings him joy.
Yeah.
Brings him happiness. I was reading, there's a quote by Voltaire. Now, I don't usually read Voltaire, but there was a quote by Voltaire. Men are tormented. This is what he saw men as. Men, and this is true, I think. There's somebody who said most men lead their, I'm all over the place today, forgive me, but hopefully you're taking nuggets. There's a saying that said most men lead their lives in quiet desperation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
They mask it, they do everything, but Voltaire said, men are tormented atoms. That's all he called us. Men are tormented atoms in a bit of mud, sick fools who only talk of happiness. That's how he described life
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty pessimistic,
It
brutally
is.
honest
It is.
view of the world.
I look at these things and I'm going, where else would I rather be than in the Lord? And that's where it all came down to. And then it's like, I had to pray this week many times, Lord, forgive me. Forgive me for being so selfish. Forgive me for getting so far into myself that I'm actually asking where you are when you're right there. And I thought I wrote this in my blog this week, but I said, when I was a child, I used to have nightmares all the time. I used to believe people were under my bed and they'd come up and try and grab me and pull me under the bed and all this stuff. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's scary.
I had a vivid imagination, and my dreams were very real. So I spent a lot of time running into my mother and father's room, listening to my father grunt because he had to roll over, and my mom lifting me up or telling me to jump in bed and climb in between the two of them.
Yeah.
And once I climbed in between the two of them, everything disappeared. I was strong then. I was able, no more bad dreams.
Yeah.
Slept soundly. And I thought, now I'm older. I have a heavenly Father. I have these bad dreams. I have these dreams that I can't find him. I have these dreams that I want to run from him, but fear of what I'm running into. And he's beckoning me all the time. Come sit on my lap. Come seek me out. Come, I'm here.
Yeah.
Come into my room.
Yeah.
And when I started doing that and confessing, he was right there.
Yeah, I think there's a comfort that comes from relationship with God it's hard to quantify. It's hard to describe to someone who hasn't experienced it and hope that it makes sense to them. Yeah, there's just a very real relationship, and I like that imagery that you describe. It's very vivid, but I think it's very true. There's a sense of security that comes that doesn't make sense, right? You're sleeping in bed with your parents and it's still dark in there and your imagination can still run wild,
But it doesn't.
but it doesn't. And there's not really a logical explanation other than that sense of security. And there's not really a reason why, but you just know it's there and you can count on it. And that's what it's like with your relationship with God, to know that he's there, to know that you can count on him, and Joe, it's crazy that you have this 1 week turnaround. There's a lot of people that will, for weeks or months or years of their life, be far from God. And one of the fruit of the Spirit, long suffering, there's a reason why it's the fruit of the Spirit, because it's a godly characteristic, and God is always there, and God is always stable, and God is always there with open arms, like in the parable of the prodigal son. God is always willing to be there and accept us whenever we come back. And it could be a week turnaround. It could be years being far from God. And that is a sense of security that you can't find anywhere else in life.
I think for me, before I went to Ukraine, before I went to Kenya, I experienced God in the closest way possible, where he was talking to me, not verbally, where I knew his will. It was like, what is it? I can't remember where it is, but the verse that says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you can test and approve what the will of God is.
Yeah.
And when you're at that point where you're doing that and you know the will of God, and it's almost as if it were a voice telling you, go do this and go do that. That is such an unbelievable experience to be that in tune with our Creator who loves us, that anything more than a week of going through that is hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I missed him. I missed that feeling. I hated the feeling. But then I realized, here's the part that may make some people stuck,
Okay.
is that I knew it was me
Yeah.
100%. It wasn't you. It wasn't the church. It wasn't somebody else. I wasn't a victim.
Yeah.
It was me who was thinking, who was trying to blend my new life with the old life again. And because of that, these things, I got off the path. I wandered and I fell into a pit, and it was dark and muddy, and I had to reach up and say, God, pull me out of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, being able to recognize that it's me is humility. Like that's why we talk about that quality. You know, the guy in the video is talking about it. That's why it's a quality we talk about in church, because a lot of times our own ideas and desires and our own pride will stand in the way of us achieving peace, or us achieving what God has called us to do. Because we have a better way of doing it, or because our reputation is on the line, or because we don't want to doubt our own thoughts and our understandings to be forced to say, yeah, maybe I just didn't understand that. Maybe there's a better way to understand the world, or yeah, I reacted incorrectly in that situation, and how can I do better next time? Whatever it is, it starts with that recognition of the shortcoming of self. And sometimes that can get taken to a point of, that can get taken to a toxic place. But to do the opposite and say, hey, just be proud of who you are all the time. You, like, the way you're thinking, the way, you got it right. The world around you can change. That's just as toxic the other way. Humility is recognizing your shortcomings that will always be present, and that is the first step to growing and changing, being renewed, being made better.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It's a journey, and I'm not. I thought about this today, sitting here talking about this, but I wanted to. I wanted people to know, first of all, that you can't get out of this,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a way to get out of it. I think, maybe if there was a chemical imbalance in me, I couldn't get out of it. I was stuck. I'm not trying to say that people don't have mental illness, may be a different thing.
Sure.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm talking from a spiritual standpoint. When you get that point where is God? The question should be, where am I, God? Because once you have tasted the Holy Spirit, once you are part of Christ, part of the body, I don't think you can ever be, you're suddenly an alien,
mm-hmm.
and you can never be happy. I've heard people say, well, people leave the church, and the Wesleyan tradition is that you can lose your salvation. I just don't think many people do, because the alternative is so, how do you, once you taste Christ, how do you go back into the world and turn your back on him?
Yeah. I think that tradition, that theological distinctive is important, not because, hey, you were in, now you crossed a line and you're out. You crossed the line, you're back in. Oh, you messed up, now you're out. Like, that would just give you total anxiety, right? The point of that theological distinctive is to recognize the humility. to say, hey, you've stopped living as a part of the kingdom of God. You're able to do that, and you have done it. Be humble. Recognize you are far from God now. Recognize that your life is not what God intended it to be, and get back in line with God.
Mhm.
And that is why we have that theological distinctive. That's why we don't say, well, you prayed the prayer, you're good. Now whatever happens from here doesn't matter.
Amen. Thank you.
And I think some people can straw man it, and they have that anxiety of, am I in or am I out? Bro, it's just the fact that you are able to ask that question is a good thing. That means you're evaluating where you're at, and be humble, recognize your shortcomings, and always have a desire, a pursuit to be closer to God and closer to godliness.
In the time we have left,
Yeah.
can I go off on a little tangent?
Sure.
I drive you
You've been
crazy.
leading the way with this whole thing. Just go for it, man.
Is it like, before I lead the way in this again, is there anything you want to that's burning in your head right now that you want to go over?
No. I'm hearing from you, like probably a lot of people listening to this or watching this. It's just going to be a lot of, and
I hope it is.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's a really good thing to, like, hear someone's testimony, right? Like the guy was saying in the video, the importance of a testimony, right? To hear someone's testimony, and it might not speak exactly to you. Like it might not be a one-on-one map to my situation, but there's wisdom from it, and there can be encouragement in it. And it can reframe the way I think about things, or can jog my memory about something that God wanted me to think about and I've procrastinated thinking about, And so I think that's the beauty in testimony. So no, it's been good. There's nothing burning on me.
Right. I wanted to, we're talking about the world, how it is, Christ. When I was listening to the gentleman speak and speak so well, and I thought of, first of all, him being, a man who was on the street, who these people helped, who was so wise, who probably deals with so much chaos in his life. And then I started thinking about how important it is for us to be as bold as he is. And there was a story this week that just broke my heart. And I don't know why. You see things all week. You see mass murders everywhere. You see all kinds of stuff. But for some reason, this one just broke me. I don't know if you heard this story, but a mother and a husband in Arkansas, wife and husband, were with two of their three kids, and they were hiking in a state park in Arkansas. They had just moved there recently. One daughter was at home. The two were walking with them, and they were hiking. A man jumped out of the bushes, began stabbing the husband randomly. He started fighting the man off, and while he was fighting the man off, he told the mother, the wife, take the kids and run. Get out of here. Well, she took the two young kids that she had with her, ran them up to the top of the hill where they were safe. And instead of just going to the car and running away, she came back down to help him. And he then killed her. So the two kids then were found later by Park Service and so on and so forth. But I thought of this, and it just broke my heart. First of all, his self-sacrifice, telling them to get out of there.
Yeah.
Her going back, her self-sacrifice. And then the fact that somebody would be so evil, and we're seeing this more and more and more, Josh. There used to be a time when people killed for at least a reason. Very, very rarely did someone come just on a path with a family walking in a state park, enjoying the day, and just jump out and want to kill two people. And I thought, how messed up are we? How messed up is this world that people keep doing this? And I don't, I'm kind of bringing this full circle, but when I look at someone like that gentleman preaching, the only thing that's going to change people is Jesus Christ. We've talked about this many times. And I'm telling people who don't know Christ and people who maybe are on the fence or people who are just cold or whatever, I don't know. But is there anything more important in this world than telling people about Jesus Christ?
I think that there's a hope and there's a peace that comes from a relationship with Jesus that will outlast food, medicine, pleasure. I think about the good things in life that are good things, and then I think about like the different kind of good that is the gospel message. And it's a goodness that will stand the test. Right in the video, he talked about going through the fire. Inevitably, things in our lives that are good will fade away. They will be taken from us. They will be destroyed. And I think that there's a relationship with an eternal, unchanging God and a hope for the future, a renewed creation that will last through it all. No matter what we go through, good or bad, no matter what we lose, no matter what fades over time, no matter what's taken from us, the gospel is there. And it's good on a whole nother level.
And the hope.
Yeah.
The hope that is in it, because you read that and you see this story and you know that there's 3 orphaned kids now. And if you watch enough of that and see enough of these stories, you lose hope. You become fearful.
Yeah.
Because you never know if you're going to go to the grocery store, if the grocery store is safe, if walking on a path hiking in a state park is safe.
Yeah.
And there's a hopelessness that is life unless you're tethered to the Creator who promises you more and who gives you a true joy and a lack of fear in situations like this. And so, it's all tied. I'm thinking this is all tied together. You're probably not getting it. I'm thinking this is all tied together.
But this has all been a part of like what you've been working through, what you've been thinking through, what you've been reading and watching over this last week as you've been on this spiritual
tear.
Yeah, this spiritual sprint this week of just like, we're going to work through all the stages of grief in 1 week.
I did. I tried. And now you're making me seem like I'm schizophrenic or something.
No.
Like
no, Joe, it's genuinely been really interesting to see your relationship with the church, with ministry, with God evolve over the last 1.5, 2 years that I've known you. Not very long. And to see how much you've changed in different ways, and to be like, wow, Joe was saying these things that I'm like, I don't know if that's a great way to frame it, but I get what he's saying. To wow, now Joe's aware of how he's saying it, and he's already rehabituated himself, and he's saying it in a way that's more sensitive, but is still bold in the truth. And like you go through this like spiritual, the spiritual walk, like genuinely as a sprint. I don't know what it is about you, if you're just hungry for more and God's like, all right, let's go for it. But I genuinely see like in you a wisdom and a maturing and a fervor to pursue service that is a drive unlike what I see in so many other Christians. And so no, if you're processing through things in a week, I think that's on brand for you.
On brand. That's good. I like the way you choose words often on brand. I'm going to use that. I don't know. I sometimes, I know Kirby thinks she saw me work through this all week. She saw me go through it for a week before.
Yeah.
And now she saw me this week just constantly, Bible open, this here, watching this, praying,
Yeah.
writing.
It's after all these years together, she used to that.
She is.
Okay.
She is, but I think
she seems like a stable person who's not going to question things unnecessarily, who's going to appreciate, like, see the positive side and be committed and be like that's the vibe I get from her.
Well, she's also like this too. If I'll say something like, Kirby, you're uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't get too high or low, and I'm like,
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I love Jesus. I love my relationship.
This has been a different kind of conversation, but I wouldn't recommend just listening to this episode or just watching this one without hearing our conversation that we had last week. Last week was genuinely like really heavy, but I think it might resonate with a lot of people because we all go through it. And I think that the follow-up this week is very enlightening, especially in light of what we talked about last week. So once again, if you're listening or watching to just this episode, I'd encourage you to go back to episode 65, give that a watch or a listen. And I think it'll really round things out for you and might open you up to some more thoughts and some more conversations.
Next week, I'll try and why don't you just do something so that way I don't feel like I'm just like,
all right,
taking up the whole time.
No, that's fine. We'll go with something bold next week. Does that sound good?
Ooh, was this not bold?
No. Oh my goodness.
I'm messing. Stop. I was just joking. Yeah, let's I want you to do it because I don't, I've taken up your head.
No, I think it's
2 weeks in a row here
2 weeks
with my stuff.
No, like I said about a testimony is a powerful thing. And so hopefully someone was really spoken to by hearing your testimony over these last 2 weeks and the journey you've been on. Hopefully that resonates with someone. We got some great feedback after episode 65, and we appreciate anyone who reaches out, anyone who leaves a comment or sends us an email, or if you know us personally, sending us text messages or phone calls. All those things are great. That's the goal of this podcast, is to just spark those conversations, get you thinking on what it means to not just have life, but to be life in your school, in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in the world around us. If you enjoy our content, we'd love for you to like this video. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share anytime an episode speaks to you, feel free to share it with someone. Sometimes it can be a great introduction to a conversation with someone. We just thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you again next week.